Welcome to Stop Ruining My Childhood, a sometimes nostalgic, sometimes cynical look back at pop culture. With the inclusion of Jean Grey into Spider Man Brand New Day, it would seem that the debut of the X Men in the MCU is right around the corner. 2 years ago, I remember I posted some content on one of my original channels and created a fan casting of the X Men for the MCU. Who would I think is the best to kind of insert into these roles? What young actors might work if we're casting the X Men today? So coincidentally, I had slated Sadie Sinkin as Jean Grey, and that matched up with now where the MCU is. So I thought this would be a great time to revisit those casting choices that I made and see how close they come to the actual casting that we would imagine should be announced pretty soon. With a number of original stories already debuted in past X Men films, I propose that the MCU starts off with the storyline from Giant Sized X Men number 1. Giant Sized X Men number 1 hit the newsstand in February of 1975, although it had a May cover date. The story picks up after the original X Men team, except for Cyclops, has been captured on the island of Krakoa, and Cyclops and Professor X must form a new team to rescue them. This new team later is known as Second Generation X Men. This is where Wolverine, Storm, Colossus, Nightcrawler, Thunderbird, and Sunfire all join the team. I think this would give the audience a chance to meet many of the characters as they're recruited in the story during the movie, and then we get to meet the original team as they're rescued. As we look at the casting, keep in mind I wanted to keep a semi young group of actors so that they would have some longevity in the cinematic universe. The best way to start off is with the founder of the X Men, Professor X. Professor X embodies intelligence, wisdom, and he's the guidance behind the team of mutants, and also the face of the section of the mutant movement dedicated to living at peace and harmony with humanity. You need an actor that demands gravitas as well as respect from the younger roles around him, and who can be seen as an authority role as soon as he appears on screen. Doesn't hurt if you've got an actor who is bald or has gone bald before and looks good, as we know that that's one of the signature looks of Professor X. While there may be a few people who could do this, the closest actor that really checks all the boxes for me as Professor X is Mark Strong. Strong has an impressive resume that includes films like Kingsman um, and the Kingsman series, where he played Merlin. He was in the movie Stardust. He played the villain in Shazam. And he also has quite a bit of a classic stage experience. He's done Arthur Miller plays, Shakespeare plays. So I think he would be a good fit, and he would command that seriousness and that era of guidance, or aura of guidance and mentor figure from the rest of the staff. Next, we would logically move to casting Cyclops, or Scott Summers, the field leader of the X Men. Cyclops gets his name from the visor he must wear to control the kinetic, concussive beams of energy that shoot from his eyes when they're open. The special ruby quartz visor and sometimes sunglasses when he's out of costume is the only thing that allows him to keep his eyes open without attacking everything in his eye line. Cyclops is the link between the classic X Men team and the new recruits that we're focusing on in this storyline. We need a young actor who's had some chops in acting and a bit of experience. Also, when I cast, it is important to look for the actors who do have the same physical look and characteristics as the character in the comic books. So for this, I selected Wyatt Olaf to fill the role of Cyclops. I think he'll do nicely as he's acted in the MCU already in a slight role as the young Peter Quill in Guardians of the Galaxy, but there's been enough time and he's grown enough and aged so that we don't really have to worry about that. He's also played the role of Stanley Uris in It and It Chapter 2. In total, he has about 21 film and television credits, and he's only 23 years old. So I think that's a good fit, and he's got some of the experience we need there. Moving on to the next character, we're going to come to Sunfire, who's a Japanese born superhero who had a few earlier comic appearances before being recruited for this mission. Sunfire has the ability to absorb solar radiation and turn it into plasma blasts. They can propel him to fly, and he can also use this to form a heat shield as well. You may not be as familiar with him since directly after helping rescue the other X-Men, he declines membership in the team. To stay true to the hero's Japanese roots, I chose Makenyu, a Japanese actor, to play the role of Sunfire. You may recognize him from the Netflix live action One Piece show. He has quite a few credits and has won two Japanese Film Awards and was nominated for three others. Banshee, or Sean Cassidy, is a mutant who has the power to belt out a hypersonic scream which can attack with force and also gives him the ability to fly. Banshee is a bit older than some of the other heroes and often acts as a voice of maturity and a confidant for Professor X. Being that Banshee is Irish in the comics, I looked for an actor with the same heritage. I like Jack Rayner here. He's half Irish, and he has the look and presence that I think would make an excellent Banshee. At 34 years old, he's a little older than the other actors, but not by enough that he doesn't have longevity for future movies. Early in his career, he played in Transformers Age of Extinction opposite Mark Wahlberg, and recently he was the lead in season 2 of Citadel on Amazon Prime. Now we move on to Storm. Storm is a mutant with the ability to control the weather and elements of nature. She was worshipped as a goddess in her home country of Kenya. At one point, she was left powerless, but still helped lead the X Men during the Mutant Massacre storyline, and was regressed in another comic book into an adolescent where she lost her memory and became a thief. And then she met Gambit, and she was part of the reason that she brought him to the team and he became an X Men when she returned. I think 23-year-old Whitney Peak would make a perfect Storm for the MCU. Peak was born in Uganda, neighboring Storm's home country of Kenya, and she moved to Canada with her family when she was 9 years old. She has the amazing beauty of a living goddess and can carry that poise in this role. She's acted in The Chilling Adventures of Sabrina, Gossip Girl, and she's going to be in the upcoming Hunger Games film Sunrise on the Reaping. Colossus is the powerhouse of the X Men. Russian born Peter Rasputin displayed the mutation of being able to turn his skin into living metal. This gives him super strength and invulnerability, as well as the ability to go without food, water, or air while in his metal form. For this casting, I chose Joseph Baena. Baena is the son of action star and bodybuilder Arnold Schwarzenegger. While he doesn't have the credits of his famous dad or even his half brother Patrick, Joseph has had a few roles in film and television and followed his dad's footsteps in competitive bodybuilding. There's a loose tie through Arnold to Eastern Europe that could connect with the character, and he has the farm boy look that I link with a young Colossus who grew up on a communal farm. Kurt Wagner, the mutant known as Nightcrawler, has the ability to teleport at will, combined with enhanced agility and the ability to adhere to surfaces, similar to Spider Man in a sense. Unfortunately, Kurt's mutation came with the physical attributes of pointed ears, sharp teeth, a tail, and blue fur, making him a little bit of a devilish imp. To cast this role, I found the right actor in the ensemble of the film It and It Chapter 2. Jack Dillon, who played Freddy in the It movies, is no stranger to superhero movies, having played Freddie Freeman in the Shazam movies, and he voiced Superboy in an animated film under the DC banner. He's 22 years old and has 23 credits to his acting career. I think he has the ability and the charisma to make Nightcrawler proud. John Proudstar is the Native American superhero Thunderbird. Proudstar displayed super strength, enhanced speed, stamina, and senses. Thunderbird was a bit of a tragic hero as he dies on his second mission with the X-Men, but it does open the door years later for his younger brother, the hero Warpath. The perfect fit for Thunderbird is Forrest Goodluck, a Navajo actor from New Mexico. He's acted in films such as The Revenant, The Miseducation of Cameron Pope, and Pet Sematary Bloodlines. He also won the Young Artist Award for Best Performance in a Feature Film for his role in Revenant when he was 16 years old. Goodluck is a little older than some of the other cast, but again, that would leave space for a later introduction for his younger brother into the MCU. The last role I'm casting for today is Wolverine, the iconic X-Man who's captured the love of comic fans for generations. Logan was born with supernatural healing powers and bone claws, and later, as part of the Weapon X program run by the government, he had his skeleton and claws laced with adamantium, the fictional extremely strong metal. His hyper healing factor also slows his aging, as he's nearly 100 years old, but looks much younger. Although he brings age and wisdom to the team, it's often countered by Wolverine's natural feral nature, making him a bit of a loner and a wild card. And speaking of wild cards, this casting is probably my most controversial, as I wanted to break the recent cycle of Wolverine castings and look for an actor with the smaller stature that the character has in the comics. At 5'3" and with a magical resume, my choice to portray Wolverine in the MCU is Harry Potter himself, Daniel Radcliffe. I know that seems kind of crazy, but if you look at the picture I've got here, he can pull off feral. Radcliffe has shown through many roles that he has the range, as well as through his time as Potter, that he can handle the weight of portraying an iconic character. So I've casted the second generation of X-Men. Join me next time when I look at the original team that's going to be rescued in this storyline, and we'll also look to cast Magneto and Krakoa. Like and subscribe for future updates and videos, and let me know in the comments if you agree with my casting or if you have better ideas for who you think would portray the X-Men the best in the upcoming MCU. This has been Stop Ruining My Childhood. Until next time, remember, nostalgia is not a crime.